As we have learned the many dynamics of the written word so far, let us see how these same words on the paper transform to spoken words. So while speaking, the punctuation is not pronounced. However, through modulation of your voice and tone, those punctuations mark can come to life and transmit the exact same information they do on the paper. But to keep it relevant, we only discuss the most common ones. So the first one is pretty simple, the full stop. Pretty self-explanatory, right? This mark brings a statement, a sentences, or a statement or a thought to an end, meaning there's no more to be said about this, unless you use a transition word to link this sentence to the next. Then the thought will be carried forward depending on the word you choose. So say if your sentence is Mary had a little lamb, but it was naughty. Then you have transmitted one thought in the first sentence and then linked it to contrast to another. But if you say Mary had a little lamb, it was naughty, then these are two separate thoughts. And we may find out if they have a relation later on in the text, but so far, these are two individual thoughts vaguely connected. Hence, when you communicate them, you need to pause for a second at least. If you do not, the audience will have no way of knowing where did the thought stop. So go slow when you see the end of a thought. Next to this list is a comma. This is what we call a half full stop and a connector. Half full stop because you need to take a short but noticeable pause, not too long as to confuse the audience. But in this part, also a comma marks a connection between the words you have used. For example, Bina brought apples, oranges, grapes, and tomatoes from the market. So the words separated by the comma are a part of a list and you will speak them like that. A semicolon. These marks tell you that a thought sentence 1 is independent from sentence 2, but there's still a connection from them. For example, she could not, but she had suffered a trauma and that can't be disconnected from the plea. In this way, she could not is a statement on its own, but it has unfinished thought with the semicolon represent, and hence the pause you take will be longer than a comma, but shorter than a full stop. Question marks. This is where you will need to learn the tone of your language. A question mark represents a question and must be spoken like one. If you speak it without raising your tone at the end of your sentence, it just sounds like a statement, and that is not beneficial for your meaning. Therefore, treat this one not only bring meaning to your message, but also to bring diversity in the way you speak. Imagine if you had to listen to only one kind of tone for 5 minutes. Wouldn't you get bored? This is why it is a good idea to involve different kinds of sentence structure throughout your speech. Because questions are great to pique the audience's curiosity. Plus, they make people think because a question needs an answer, and since you have spoken the question out loud, every mind will try to work out possible answers. The next one is exclamation mark. So this one is used when you are exclaiming, meaning expressing some kind of an emotion. Sadness, alas, surprise, oh, happiness, how wonderful the day is today, so on and so forth. In this kind of a structure, the tone will rise at the beginning and fall at the end, kind of opposite to a question mark. So these are the most common punctuation marks you will need to translate into an actual tone of voice. But communication comprise of your spoken word, your tone of voice, and your body language. Out of these, your body language is the most expressive. We have discussed a few points on body language in the rest of the course, but a few things that you must understand about body language are that just like language, they involve differently too. So what is acceptable in your culture may have a drastically different meaning in others. Therefore, it is critical to know the difference lest you make a horrible mistake. For example, the misunderstanding between Arabs and Americans was that the Arabs didn't like the Americans move away from them while speaking because Arabs view close contact as trust, whereas America views close contact as intimidation and invasion of personal space. Similarly, leaving food on your plate is considered as an insult to the chief in India, but eating all the food of your plate is an insult to the hospitality in Japan. So you see, same act, different meaning. So get to know whom you speak with and then formulate your body language accordingly. As a rule, avoid pointing your fingers. since it has a bad meaning in most culture, and also because you have a perfectly good alternative to point with your palm. So put a thumb up in certain directory to get to know what this sign means where you are and proceed with cautions. But standing erect and relaxed is acceptable everywhere, and there are many expressions of the face and body which are universal, such as smiling, crying, anger, deep thought, etc. But identify more universal body language and incorporate it to develop your own. You will need to learn body language just as you do regular language. But finally, remember that communication is simply two parties receiving and sending codes. The better you get at reading and responding to these codes, the better you communicate, your communication will become. So all you need to do is find a way to transmit information that is in your mind with the help of the tools available in the language to receive the response you were hoping for. That is what a skilled communicator does, and this is what we will learn to do.